There he is.
Hi, Chad.
Sorry about that. Now the name is actually one I recognize.
Well, I just have the school's iPad, and my computer right now is so old. How old is it? That I'm afraid it's going to crash at any given moment. So I don't use it for like anything like this.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it'll just all of a sudden it just shuts off just like that. And I cleaned out a bunch of space and storage for it, but at the same time, I mean, the thing is 10 years old. So
well, it looks okay. Looks good.
Yeah. Just waiting on Patty.
So how was your Mother's Day?
It was fine. Call Mom and call my sister, who's also a mother. Had a nice visit with them. I think we're going to try to go up and see my mom and dad on Friday.
Oh, good.
Just for the day. Drive up, have lunch, and then come right back.
Yeah.
They head up north every summer. They go up to Vermont, and they're going to leave the first week of June. So it's probably the best time to go see them is now. So yeah, there it is.
I see a ceiling.
It's like, this is like my drum lessons. It's like you always see the ceiling.
Yeah.
You never see the kid's face.
That's good. That's better that way.
There we go.
Cool. I'm going to refill my coffee bar back.
Is that a mask on your head, or are you happy to see me? There he goes. Okay.
You know, it occurred to me that everybody's wearing these homemade masks walking around. It looks like they have panties strapped to their face.
I'm
okay with.
Glad you asked.
Are you happy to see us, Patrick, or is that some music notes on his head?
We all have matching masks now. These are courtesy of Ellen Reeves made these. Ellen.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's fun.
So unfortunately, she made mine like this. I don't know why. I do, but I'm not going to get into that. So we're supposed to welcome to the jungle.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's like continuing our Rat Poison theme.
Yeah,
it's just going round and round.
Oh.
So this is the SlapperCast episode number 66. Hopefully it is anyway. Not sure if this stuff is going to be usable or not.
How's your coffee today?
It's not bad.
Is coffee good?
Not as good as it usually is.
Oh.
You showing your mugs? I got my mug.
So, okay, this is kind of awkward.
Does Chad have an account?
Is
this a real Zoom account?
Yeah, it's a paid account.
So it won't cut us off in 45 minutes like it's supposed to.
I think they switched that when it became so popular.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, what did you do? Do you do anything for Mother's Day, Patrick?
No, I'm a dad.
you know a mother then?
Oh yes. I know quite a few. Thank you.
He does.
Before we go too, we have a couple of things coming up that are we're hanging on to. People have been emailing us asking about the future dates. Yeah. So we're ticking them off as we go, and we're trying to get good. But it does look a lot of it looks like they're going to start to happen. We're going to have that news coming up here pretty soon. Also, we also just want to start by thanking our friend Sharon in Florida, and Sharon Bodden. She's a big fan of Irish music, and we've stayed in touch this whole time. She's so that was a huge, great surprise yesterday. I'm very, very, very grateful, Sharon. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really nice surprise.
And also, since we haven't seen Ellen, that sounds good, Eric. By the way, I like it. Are you doing your Kegels? Is that what it is? Your Kegel exercise?
I'm not following what's going on. But
this is from Ellen, and she made all of us one of these. So mine's already been in use. So thank you. Just we find out how generous everybody is, and
you asked that bird to introduce himself. I guess maybe already.
What?
The bird on Eric's camera is louder than he is.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
This is funny because Zoom keeps switching. It hears the bird and switches to your camera because it thinks you're talking.
Exactly.
Anyway,
The
yeah, we also
birds.
got a big tip from our friend April yesterday as well, and a couple other people who are watching.
Nice.
I put up as an sort of an experiment. I was rebroadcasting a couple of our shows yesterday, and people were sending us tips during them as well. So it was
Sweet.
really nice.
This is going great. I'm glad I shaved.
Yeah.
I'm going to head outside with Eric.
Okay.
Chad, we doing okay?
Looks fine to me.
Cool. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Need some help from you guys. Come on.
There's got to be something we can talk about. We're going to talk about the Bun E Carlos story and how he broke up Cheap Trick. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Bunny.
Bunezuela.
Okay.
Bunezuela Carlos. Yeah, it's Bun E, BUN space capital E period. This is like 2010. This is right after I started doing interviews, the drummer interviews, and I had done W.S. Holland, who we mentioned last week, was Johnny Cash's drummer.
Yeah.
I got in touch with Dave Hartman from Southern Culture on the Skids.
Oh, cool.
Interviewed and good buddy. Interviewed him, so I was kind of getting my chops together. And I saw that Cheap Trick was coming to Austin to do the Auditorium Shores show during South by Southwest. They usually did a big concert down there, and they were the headliner on, I think, the Thursday or Friday night. I can't remember which. So I got a hold of their management and just flat out said, I'm doing this project for the Percussive Arts Society, and I'd love to interview Bun E Carlos. And then knowing that full well he's a big hero of mine, it would be just fun to meet him. And it went through their lawyers, it went through the management, it went through all these people, but they agreed to go ahead and do it. And they said, okay, you can interview Bun E Carlos from 11 to 11:45 at the Radisson Hotel on, Cesar Chavez in Congress on whatever day this is. And this is about a week before. So I didn't want to clog up their, information highway too soon. So I was like, yes, this is exciting. So it's Tuesday before, and I'm on spring. I was teaching school, then I'm on spring break. I'm home, like painting something or doing something. And I get this email that says, we apologize, but Bunny will not be able to do the interview this Friday. Bunny. And I was like, damn it. And then I found out that he had literally quit the band that week.
Wow.
This is like after, this is after the fact. So they were basically either about to start heading out to Austin, or I'm not sure what the situation was that particular week, but he basically said, I'm done. Fuck this, I'm done. But as it turns out, he actually didn't quit the band. He just said, I'm not playing this week, and I'm probably not going to play next week, and I'm probably not going to play the week after that. So for almost a couple years, he was still a full paid member of the band, until I think they finally found a dollar figure to buy him out of his partnership with the group. And since then, he's not been in the band anymore. And Dax is Rick Nielsen's kid, and Dax had grown up obviously in a musical family, been playing drums. His first real big gig was with Dick Dale, the guitar player. So Dax did a couple of tours with Dick Dale and got his chops together and played with a couple of other bands. And I think Rick just said, "Come on, here's the set list. You got to play this week with us." And he's been the drummer ever since then. Now, what I've heard was, and what I've read was from both sides, Bunny and Bunny and Robin Zander just stopped getting along years ago. Which is, it's difficult when, you've been in a band for 30 years or whatever, and it's just someone starts getting on your nerves, I guess. But like Bunny wanted to do, they did the Sgt. Pepper's record in Vegas, and it was a good money maker. I saw that show a bunch of years ago. Oh, Jeff Emmerich was the was the front of house engineer, by the way, for that show, which is kind of awesome. Yeah,
I didn't even know you did front of house.
Me and one when they introduced him, me and one other guy like jumped out of our seats and ran over to the board. Yeah, because we knew who he was. You know, no one else knew. We're like, oh yeah, that's great. It's front of house guy. Yeah. We're like, holy shit, it's fucking Jeff Emmerich. You know.
Yeah.
But so and that show, I guess, for them was pretty lucrative, and Bun E wanted to do a few more, like kind of in between when they weren't touring and when they weren't doing other stuff. He'd say, why don't we just do this for like a couple of weeks? We get to stay there, we get paid really well, it's fun, people like it. And Robin didn't want to do it. He wanted to just not do that kind of stuff. So I guess I got on his nerves. But so I never got a chance to interview him. But in the meantime, since then, I've actually had a chance to meet him, and that was great. It was finally had a chance to actually. I went to the Chicago drum show a couple of years back for the first time, which is kind of like a big swap meet for drummers. It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of junk. There's some good stuff. There's some new stuff, like, you know, Sabian shows up, and some of the you know, Ludwig, of course, shows up because they're based right there in Chicago. But I mean, it's a lot of like secondhand, third hand kind of stuff. Like, I'm looking for. This is what kills me about the vintage guys too. It's like, I'm looking for a wing nut for a 1965 Slingerland. It's like, just go to the hardware store, buy a wing nut. It's gonna work. It's fine. But you know, people are like psychotic about that kind of shit. So anyway, Bun E and one of his buddies had a booth there. They had an end booth with some vintage stuff, and so I walked by and I'm like, holy fuck, that's Bun E Carlos. And my buddy Nick's like, yeah, just go say hi. So I said hi and told him that we had a, you know, at that point we were working on a Cheap Trick cover band, and I was a big fan of his, and he was really gracious and very kind, and I'm sure he gets that all the time, kind of a thing. But it was good to kind of meet him, and he's very down to earth, very nice. But then I found out too, this is a good thing, I found out like on Friday night during Chicago Drum Show, all the guys get in their cars and they drive out to Rockford, and they go to his farm where he's got like a, you know, a warehouse full of just drums, you know. And I could probably go if I wanted to, but Rockford's like an hour away, and
we know exactly where Rockford.
It's always
where we stayed.
Yeah. So he's got a place out there, and at one point I think he was trying to get a drum set in every finish that Ludwig ever made. Wow. Imagine that. That's a lot of drums. Yeah. That's a lot of finishes. You know, it's like trying to get every Fender guitar from 1955 till now in whatever finish that they've ever made. Yeah. You know. So anyway, that's the Bun E story. Great guy, very nice, very, very charming. Obviously didn't get along with the rest of the band. But if you watch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which no one should ever watch because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a sham. But I did watch. Shots fired. I did watch the induction ceremony, obviously, because Cheap Trick is a big part of my life, and they were all super, super gracious, and they all played again like they're supposed to, and it was fine. You know, no one said anything bad. Everybody was super, super kind. And actually, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, in the Cheap Trick exhibit, it's a snare drum that Bun E donated, and he wrote to Robin. He wrote, "Robin, this would have never happened without you." Wow. So I don't know if that's old or new or whatever, or he's just trying to, you know, just mend fences. But you got to think that must have been brewing for years. You know, had to be. I mean, to be together that long, and to say, okay, now I've had it. You know, after 30 years. It just doesn't happen over a weekend. You know. Yeah. That's nuts.
Very true. Yeah. Well, we all know the dynamic, and we all know that what it takes to keep this to keep the DNA of the band, how everything works, and you know, one little piece gets out of whack, man, and it screws everything. It's just, you know, it's one thing because, you know, we talk about the idea, and every band is the same. As we talk about the idea of like, well, there's really 2 to 4 hours of magic in every day, and that's the time that we're on the stage, you know, and playing and having fun. But and I've talked about this with other drummers and other musicians. Like, it's the other 22 to 20 hours in the van or traveling, whatever. That's the important part. If you can't make that happen, and being on the stage may still be fun. I've been in bands where we hit the stage and that's the best part of the day, and the rest of the day is just drudgery. At some point,
that's going to break, that's going to snap, and it's not going to be good for anybody, because even then being on stage won't be fun.
Right.
But
Yeah.
being able to do the hang is the most, maybe one of the more important parts about being in a band. It's not, obviously playing together is important and liking each other important, but hanging for that long together is so important to make sure that chemistry transfers to what happens on stage.
That was cool. You mentioned that in the interview with Aaron. Forget his last name, the drummer we're talking about last week. You mentioned
Aaron
that.
Spears.
Okay, yeah.
Spears, yeah, and I mean, and he knows. I mean, and when he joined Usher, he was the young gun, and he talked about, he was concerned every night about whether or not he was doing the right thing, until finally he sat down and he asked the guys, because no one was telling him anything. They would basically play the show, get off stage, get on the bus, go to the next thing or whatever, get on the plane or whatever, and no one was really talking about the show. So he started to feel like really nervous and really kind of self-conscious about it, until finally one day he said, am I doing this right? And they said, yes, you're doing it right, but you could be doing it a whole lot better. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. And they finally, that kind of broke the ice, and they became friends. And then they started pushing him in, like, okay, make sure you listen to this, make sure you're doing this. And he started doing his homework, and then, it became a much easier hang. The gigs got better, and he made some lifelong friends out of that situation. So sometimes that's all it takes. Just talk to each other. It's still a relationship.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely.
When you listen to people talk about how bands are like marriages, at the end of the day, you'll spend weeks, sometimes months on the road, in very, very close proximity. But at the end of it, everybody's off in their different directions. Everybody, and you end up being completely isolated at the end of that time. Whereas you don't do that in a marriage,
Yeah, you don't get. Yeah.
It's I'm sure that was the Robin Bun E kind of conflict thing. Who knows? But
yeah. I mean, I read articles, I read interviews with Bun E. Robin has been and the band has been very kind of mum on the whole subject. And I don't think I've never asked Dax about it, because I don't think it's my place to even, want to know that. I've seen him a bunch of times over the last couple of years, and we just talked about drumming and, stuff, family stuff, and how the tours are going and stuff like that. So I don't think it's anybody's place. Whatever happened, and we can read all the gossip we want to about it, but it's just a thing, like Chad said, it's just something that was probably brewing for a long, long time. I mean, that's why any band, any relationship, whether it's work, a band thing, even a personal relationship, that's why shit falls apart, because things get to a head and it's like, whatever, and maybe it was hard to talk about it. Maybe no one wanted to talk about it. I don't know. You're able
to see as well in bands that are, to take the 80s for instance. The 80s, everybody was on the cover of every magazine and doing every interview and doing every, so they're everywhere at all time. You can see where the split, becomes a crack, where the crack becomes irreplaceable or, an unfixable situation. You can see that, and you can watch that thing in real time. Now it's different, because now you're getting individual slices of these things. People doing their podcasts and people do, people, solo stuff and blah blah blah. It's more it's a very individually based, situation now with especially, bands like ours that are, work a lot, but still, seem to have a lot of time to. Well, now we got a lot of time to do nothing.
Yeah. But we had enough experience early on, at least, I mean, you and I did, obviously, of knowing, friends first, bandmates afterwards, and all that sort of thing. And we had opportunities to spend a lot of time together early on. And sometimes I wonder if these bands that, they do their thing locally for a little bit, then they get signed, and then all of a sudden they're basically living together for months at a time. That's a different kind of experience from what we had.
But then also add in the heroin, and add in the coke, and then add in the whores, and add in the the alcohol. That when you mix all that stuff in with all the aforementioned you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're really building on nothing. You're building on, you know, complete, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, zero foundation. You know, you got nothing to, you know, so yeah, we were lucky in that regard. We all, you know, kind of liked each other, and you know, we when the substance became, you know, out of control, or we thought it was getting out of control, we just cut that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, nip blood, you know.
The last thing I'll mention about that band topic too is, like, I hate to be the gossip guy, but I read an interview with Matt Sorum. And Matt Sorum was a drummer for he plays in the Cult. He played in the Cult for a while, and now I forget who he plays with now, but he played in Guns N' Roses for a long time. Basically, once Steven Adler kind of went off the rails, they hired Matt Sorum, and Matt played on that Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 record, and of course that tour was like the biggest thing back in whatever year that was. I can't remember. And basically that tour is like an 18-month tour. Imagine that, like not being home for a year and a half. And, and being in that band, particularly with, you know, someone like Axl Rose and someone like Slash, two very strong personalities. And he said that basically, like, the last few months of the tour, no one was really talking to each other. They would go and they would do their thing, and they would play the shows. He says, you know, and we get back, you know, we flew back home from wherever they were. They were flying back to Los Angeles, which is where they were all based. And he said, you know, there was 5 of us in the band, and the 5 of us walked off the airplane. There were 5 cars waiting for us. We all got into our car and went home, and he's like, I haven't spoken to those guys. At that point, he said, I haven't spoken to those guys in the last year. And this was back in like 91 or 92. So, I mean, imagine that. I mean, it's sad because it's like, you know, you think that you're, you know, obviously you're working, and Matt may be more like a hired gun, but still he recorded that record. So it seems like he's a band member. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just the fact to walk off the plane and be like,
yeah,
no correspondence, you know, at all. Yeah.
It makes me think about the Ramones. I know that Joey and Johnny, right? They just didn't get along at all. It's like something to do with one stealing the other's girlfriend or something like that. I'm guessing it must have run deeper than that, because but it's you know, and did they ever actually break up? I know they just started dying off after a certain point.
They started dying off, but it seemed like that they were going through drummers. Like, I mean, a bunch of drummers, and then there's a great documentary about it. I haven't seen it. It's really, really great. And yeah, in that documentary, right at the very end, Johnny's talking about his relationship with Joey, and his wife is off camera, like they're like having a conversation. It's really fucking weird. It's just really strange that, yeah, this is my girlfriend, and it was Joey's. It was just like the gossip column today. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, apparently it was Joey's like love of his life was this girl, and somehow she went with Johnny and they got married and shit. Somewhere on my phone, I have a picture of Johnny's grave in Los Angeles. I'll send it to you so you can post it.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan, but his gravesite is remarkable, so I took a picture of it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Yeah, I know what they did, and I was, you know, that was the other thing too, that we received quite a lot of pushback on our on your guys' disdain for the Eagles. I remember I said that they were really good, but they were overplayed.
Yeah.
But that was really cool though. We shook that hornet's nest.
Right.
Yeah, that was very fun.
Happy to do it.
Yes, so I think we need to, maybe not Ramones, but I think we need to find another band that we all disdain, you know, like just really hate and put a you know, pile on.
Yeah. I just hadn't really thought about it before. I just always assumed that everybody felt as put upon by the Eagles as I did growing up, as you know, most of my friends. But I've seen people on YouTube too, like people have channels where they talk about music that I respect, that people who are like deeply into metal and prog and things like that, saying, yeah, the Eagles are cool.
I you know, the stuff that you didn't hear on the radio, which I think was 2 songs, they're easier to listen to, obviously, but the harmony work, that's always been the stuff that's on me. I don't care for the rhythm section. I don't care for the high pitch, saying, but I mean, just the meat and potatoes, rock and roll. That's kind of where that's where I live.
Yeah. My 2 words were Joe Walsh.
What about him?
Joe Walsh. I mean,
great player.
He's good.
He's the. I think for me, he's the one guy that brought any sense of legitimacy to that band, because they weren't really a rock band. They weren't really like a rock band. I mean, they were popular, and they kind of get lumped into the country rock category, which I think is even stranger. But when they got Joe in that band, it's like, oh, okay, now we can,
Joe's spunk. Joe's he's a spontaneous player, and he's a great player, and he really expressive.
Yeah.
Like
he kind of brought a little bit of edge to that band that they didn't have, I don't think, before. But anyway, what do I know?
That band was remarkable too, in that all of them had really good big solo careers. Not all of them, but the 3 big guys. Joe did, Don, and
I'm not a Glenn Fry fan.
Oh my God, that solo stuff is just painful. He makes
Becker.
And look where it got him.
What's it? Becker from Steely Dan, his solo stuff. Oh,
I haven't heard it.
Don't.
Is it like completely unlike Steely Dan?
Yeah. I thought I said that. Well, you were probably sleeping. I said on one of the SlapperCast that I sat front row at the Woodlands because Dennis Chambers was playing drums for Steely Dan. So I went and sat front row, and somebody had mentioned to me, and I'd forgotten, but they said, when Becker does his solo stuff, go get a drink. And I said, well, that can't be, because Steely Dan's got so many, it's got to have some semblance of a boy, did it not. It was awful. And just 2 notes into it, and you knew, beat it. It was terrible.
This is not a direct parallel in talent or anything, but Hall & Oates, obviously the songwriting talent in that band was Daryl Hall and John Oates. I saw this interview with him. So I can't remember where this was. I saw this actually pretty interesting interview with him where they're talking about him doing his solo stuff, and I was like, oh, this sounds cool. And then I went and listened to it, like, oh God, like it bore no comparison at all to all that stuff. Like,
and you're glad to see that. I want to see the solo stuff. You're glad to see. You're glad that they go off in a completely different direction versus the Tattooed Millionaire by Bruce Dickinson. He goes out and it kind of just sounded like another Maiden record, without, with lesser drums and lesser guitar. Just that's it. But when I want to hear a solo record, I like it to be, like a John Lennon record. Wait a minute. Did you guys try to trick me into a Beatles? Hold on.
I want to see where this is going. That might be a good topic though, Chad. Is think about people that are in bands that go off and do solo records. I mean, what's a good one? What's a bad one?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Beatles.
Yeah, that's all hit and miss. I was surprised to hear that you were a fan of any of Paul's stuff. I was. You talked about Orange Flowers in the Dirt a few weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I like that record a lot. But there's a lot of shit out there too. There's a lot of Paul's stuff that is just like, ugh. Everybody's in that band. It's just like, listen.
Well, George in particular, his first 2 records are pretty good, and then it just kind of falls off. Cloud Nine's okay. It's not quite as solid as his early stuff.
The joke I used to when I taught rock history down at Wharton County Junior College, the joke I used to say was, they only let George have like 1 song on every Beatles record, 1 or 2 maybe on the White Album. And so when he came out on a solo thing, his first record was a double album or triple album, and he basically got it all out of his system, because after that it kind of went, like you said, like downhill.
He was more into racing cars and gardening after that, And then, but it wasn't until Traveling Wilburys came around, and he was really, really excited about that project.
That's a project. We've just, I can't tell you how many times we've played Traveling Wilburys in the van for just unseen, unfathomable miles, just not, I mean, over and over again. That stuff, that's truly something to behold, to listen to that. That's a sonically, and, of course, the songwriting, and then, and to have Dylan take a lead when you have all these real singers in there, and then you have Dylan say, but then you go, I love that song. I love to hear him sing on that. They just know how to put that. They know what is needed for what song, and anybody that's going to trump or get the part over Roy Orbison. You had to have done something pretty magical, spectacular, to be able to they all would take a stab at singing the line. Just
that's the most amazing thing about it, is that these huge guys, all of them set their egos aside to just build something together. And I love the documentary about that comes with the box set. It needs to be so much longer. It's only like 20 minutes long or something. I wish they had more material, but I'm glad they got what they did. It's incredible.
So my favorite. Okay, so here's the question: favorite record done by. What's the question? What am I trying to ask here, Chad? Favorite record done by a band member, meaning like someone solo record, like a solo record.
Yeah.
Okay. Name the band and then name the record that the guy did. I'll go first.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Workbook by Bob Mould.
Okay, cool.
After he left Husker Du. I mean, Black Sheets of Rain I think was first, but the Workbook record really is really stunning.
That is a great record. Yeah.
Yeah. I
was gonna bring that up. I forgot about it when we talked about Husker Du a couple shows ago. I saw him play solo too at Fitzgerald's, just with him and his guitar. Mm-hmm. And it was so good. It was so good. But I remember when Workbook came out, that was a big deal. I mean, me and my friends around that time were like, wow, this is really cool, because none of us were Husker Du fans, but he came out with that record, and it was kind of earth-shattering for us at the time. So good. I
saw him play with Sugar one time, and I saw him do his solo show where he played like acoustic guitar, and then he brought out the electric guitar. Did you do that at the show in Houston?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. It's like, da 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 da. Okay, here's the next set. The loudest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, it was super cool.
And then I saw him on the Last Dog and Pony Show tour back in 99 or something like that, with the full band, doing the full band thing. Yeah.
Probably some drummer. His drummer back then was Matt Hammond, our friend Matt Hammond from Houston. Do you know Matt?
I don't. Does he wear gloves when he plays?
He might. I don't know.
This guy was wearing gloves.
I don't
approve.
Yeah.
But his bass player was Jim Wilson, and Jim Wilson mastered Alan Hill's last record.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Jim used to live in Austin, and it's funny because my buddy Brent said, oh, and when he was doing his record, he's like, oh, we should get Jim to master it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I saw him, I'm like, did you used to play with Bob Mould? He's like, yeah, I mastered his last 2 albums. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then when Alan was asking, I was like, well, I know this guy who might be a little bit different than what you might get out of, Jerry Tubb or whoever else is doing stuff around. He's like, and he asked him, and Jim got it, and he mastered it, and his record sounds good. So
cool.
6 degrees of Bob Mould right there.
Yeah.
Again, and again, that's another band that's like just, Bob and Grant Hart were kind of like boyfriends because they're both gay. So they kind of became a relationship like in the band, and then the bass player is just like, what's happening, kind of a thing. So there's that. Also, there's a weird kind of chemistry going on, and then super aggressive music. And apparently on the last tour, like the bass player Greg Norton never took his shoes off. Like he wore his shoes the whole time. Like never changed his socks. Never took his shoes. I mean, what the fuck is that all about? That's enough to make somebody go crazy, I think, in the van, after a while. And that band just exploded, they just imploded. I mean, after that Warehouse record, you know, a double. Their last record was a double record, you know, which is and it's like probably 75% of it's really good. You know, Candy Apple Gray is their first big studio release. Warner Brothers signed them then, and then they did the Warehouse record. They're like, okay, we're done. And then next thing you know, Bob's doing a solo record, Grant's doing a solo record. Greg was a chef at some point, like he went back and was a culinary guy. So, and of course Grant's dead now, but Bob's still out there doing it. Anyway.
Yeah, mine. Mine is. I'm just going left field just because I can. But mine, I would have to say, and it still blows me away to this day. I would go George Michael just simply because I laughed so hard at my youngest sister when she listened to Wham. I was like, "Do you realize what you're listening to?" And then years later, this voice kept appearing on the radio, and I said, "What is that?" And I don't want to know because I think I know, pretty sure. It was the soundtrack of, it seemed to be, you know, the whole, you know, pastel, you know, candy coated 80s, you know, and this voice kept appearing and showing up. And then these songs just kept becoming more soulful and jazzier. And then George Michael's voice appeared and I said, who is that? And I said, oh, so good. Just the voice. And then I said on two shows ago, I said about, you know, Queen should just hang it up. You just hang it up, just walk away.
Yeah.
But hearing Somebody to Love sung by George Michael in Wembley Stadium for Freddie's tribute,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got goosebumps now thinking about it.
It's pretty dang good.
Yeah. I mean, and to be able to you know, to have a, you know, to be able to stand on that stage with that band and deliver what he delivered, but just to absolutely shut that crowd down, just, you know, or raise them up, whichever way you're looking at it. That was just, I don't know if there's ever been a better, you know, there's just nobody else. You can't touch his Blue Suede Shoes, Freddie's, but you know, if you're going to, you know, George was that was just what a delivery.
Well, I mean, to that point, I mean, George had he had a really good voice, right? He's a really good singer, but that Wham shit, it's just like, they're just kids, you know, they're just two kids trying to find their way. And then by the time his solo stuff hit, he's like, okay, and I'm more mature now, and I'm gonna do these more songs that seem to be a little bit more important, not quite so fluffy as "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go."
You know what? I'm kind of surprised that like the guys in Duran, and maybe they haven't. I just haven't heard about it. Maybe why. There's probably a good reason for that. But I'm surprised like Simon Le Bon didn't do a solo career.
I think he did. I think he did work on.
Did he do a record?
Yeah, the other guys did Power Station.
John and Eddie did that, yeah. And I know the drummer for Duran was kind of not schizophrenic, but I think he had some mental issues. So he was really like kind of like not stage fright, but he didn't like crowds and stuff like that. So agoraphobia, is that the fear of crowds? Anyway. Yeah. So there's a lot of necrophilia. Yeah. Necrophobia. The fear of fucking a dead person. Are you alive? Yeah. But I know that he has a lot of like mental issues, and so, you know, they were super huge, and then they kind of got quiet, and they kind of came back. And somewhere, I was watching a Duran concert. It was like on Axis or something like that. And if you watch the drummer, he looks very uncomfortable. Really? He's playing great though. I mean, he's driving the bus. He's nailing those songs. Leslie's a big fan of them. But you look at his face when they show his face, he's just like
yeah,
no emotion, just eyes wide open, kind of like when I play with you guys.
It looks like a drummer to me. No, but to me, he kind of looked awkward, like a Clive Burr, early days Maiden. His technique looked so forced, and that's the way that Duran drummer looked like to me. His technique just didn't. There was no flow. Everything looked like he was pushing everything. And now, and another thing, I was watching this the other day. God damn, what was the band? We were talking about Space Hog the other day.
Mm-hmm.
if you ever looked him up, but if you get a chance, check out some Space Hog. Definitely an acquired taste. I know Dr. Smalley likes it because of the massive David Bowie influence. But their early drummer, the guy that played on Resident Alien, I don't know any of their names. I know Royston Langdon and Anthony Langdon, but Anthony left. But their drummer on the earliest stuff on Resident Alien, I think maybe the second record, but just so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. Just and a great voice too, great singer, great performer. And then I saw a concert from 2004 or 5 or 6, and the drummer just boring as hell to watch. And there's nothing worse than, you can nail the part, but you gotta give something. And just the contrast in a band and the career, tanked. It just looked like they just kind of let the foot off the gas. They sounded to me like they could do anything musically, but it looked like they took the foot off the gas. And
yeah, it's a shame.
But the drummer, with even with the drummer in the back on a riser or on the whichever it is, when there's no passion, when there's no power behind it, it sinks the whole show. Yeah.
What was the name? Going back to Power Station, and do either of you remember who that drummer was? That he was in another.
Tony Thompson.
Is that who it was? And he was. What was the name of the band he was in? He was in like a Chic or something like that.
He played for Chic for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he did. He's dead too.
I know. I was about to say that was so clearly the thing that really drove that band was him. If you thought the drums were just so aggressive.
Kind of had that Phil Collins sound to the drums.
Yeah, definitely a 80s gated sound to those drums. But man, they were way up in the mix though too. I mean, he's beating the shit out of those things.
Yeah,
and they are up in the mix. And Live 80, I think he did the double drumming with Phil Collins for the Led Zeppelin stuff.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Remember Phil flew across the ocean to sit in with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up. I really forgot.
But I also want to say, without you can't mention Duran Duran or Power Station without the brilliance of John Taylor.
Yes, I was about to say that earlier.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm listening to the Duran Duran stuff now. Big fan now of that stuff because again, it was one of those things you laughed at because these men dressed as women ish, it wasn't near as bad as the rat poison thing, but just the music seemed horrific, and now you go back and it's mind-blowingly good. It's John Taylor's work on all those records. I don't know if anybody in the band is as undersung as that guy.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah, that's the thing about, we like Patrick just kind of nailed it. And we looked at them back then as being like, kind of like pop fluff and, whatever. But the reality of it is, and it's still true, like if you were a band in the 80s, there's a pretty good chance that you knew how to play your instrument because you had to, there was no getting around it. You could put keyboards in it or whatever, but, you still have to be able to play your instrument. And that's a classic case of a band that everyone knew what their job was, and they did it very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, go back to the lyrics. Just look at some of the lyrics Simon Le Bon wrote. They're not candy coated. They're well placed, well written, structured lyrics.
Yeah.
And try to find the uncensored Girls on Film video.
Yes.
Yeah, that was kind of cutting edge for that time. We're gonna make a video with naked chicks in it, and they actually did. At least they were topless, So yeah, find it. Let's share it with everyone. Share it with the world.
And also, speaking of videos, we are going to make a video.
Yeah.
What? Yes. So I think we should ask our wonderful viewers and listeners and you know, just the gang in general, just see if they have any video idea, because we're going to we've been throwing this around all this week, and also we're going to bring well, first off, we're going to bring all our Patreon kids into a rehearsal. We spoke about that. So the reason why we're doing this this Zoom Zoomy cast today is Chad's under the weather, right? Is that what it is?
I've got a sore throat. I'm not sure what's going on with it. It's one of those things where that's the only symptom. So I was just like, maybe I should stay on to see what's going on. I feel fine now.
Get you. Yeah. So we're talking about doing a little rehearsal and bringing in the camera and a little bit of and some songwriting, just behind the scenes kind of stuff. But also we're gonna shoot a video. We're talking about ideas. So again, we've got some very, very creative, very funny, very intelligent people listening and watching and stuff, and it'd be kind of cool to get their get some ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you said the X-rated girls on film, I said, yeah, we can make that video.
Hello.
Yeah, nice. I'm just really curious to see what we could come up with, because it was during my experience when I was editing last week's show, cutting the different camera angles and stuff, which is something I'd wanted to do, but I thought it would be way more time consuming than it actually was. So like, wait, we can do this.
Yeah, it was cool.
Fun. Yeah, thank you. So,
thank you.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's kind of one of those things that's long overdue with us, because it's been come up with in conversation several times over the years, but we've never actually pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah, cool. We should definitely do something like that. And so again, we're just to reiterate too, that we're these clubs are starting to call us again and find out they're testing the waters, and we're eager to test the waters and get back out there and play. Make sure as long as it's safe, and want to keep everybody else safe and whatnot. But we gotta keep this. We got to keep our finger on the pulse and try to figure out when we're going to get back to it. And
yeah,
the live streaming has been really, really fun, and everybody's been so gracious and so generous and so wonderful in their in helping us spread it around and get the word out and blah blah blah. But we've obviously got to get back to what we do, and we got to be safe, and we got to be we got to be loud, and we got to be rocking. It's got to happen quick. So
yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, a friend of mine actually posted he actually played a gig on Sunday over in Atlanta. What they did was there was like an outside cafe kind of a thing, and they put those metal keep the crowd back at a rock concert thing. They had those around the band with signs saying do not approach more close than 6 feet. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. Do not feed the animals.
That's
but
cool.
So I mean, some people are starting to do it. So I mean, like Patrick said, as long as it's safe for us and safe for the fans, we would be happy to play almost anywhere at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
hey, so before we wrap this up, Chad, is there a way that you can hit the unrecord button and we can stay on afterwards for a little bit and talk about some stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, not right now, but I mean, you can actually edit all this shit out, right? Anyway, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna edit it.
Okay, so we can keep talking about whatever. I have some band business stuff I want to talk about, but it's probably just for our ears only. So
yeah.
Well, I would hope we were going to do that anyway.
Okay.
Is that you were about to say something there, Patrick, before that?
Yeah, just in wrapping it up, thanks to everybody as usual, and we're extremely excited about what's coming, and stay in touch with us, because we've got some stuff that we want to share with you rather quickly.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. All right, thanks, y'all. We will see you next week.
See you guys.